I also kind of want to point something out. What you are doing, man, to approach successful restaurateurs is the way, like, go talk to people. You'd be so surprised how willing people are to share their knowledge. I am living proof of that. My life is going to people and saying, will you talk to me? This whole podcast is based off of that model. Just record the advice. How'd you do it? And that's exactly what we're doing at Restaurant Unstoppable community, just for the record. Like, everybody that I get on the show, I'm going to ask you too, can you just do a 30-minute, 1 hour max Q&A where our listeners can ask you questions? This is exactly what we're doing. And I think that is the power. It's just connectivity. Like that's the biggest thing I can do to serve my listeners is help them connect with the people that are being referred to me organically.
Can I give one piece of advice on this, right? To the listeners out there that are inspired to follow in, that same approach. I think it's most compelling because we as restaurateurs, chefs, or whoever we are in the industry, like one of the most valuable resources we have is time, right? We don't have enough of it, right? So if you can present in your way that shows, one, you're serious about what you're doing, and two, even if you have some traction that you can offer for us to understand, it gets us more excited to have those conversations, and not just have the conversations, but tailor those conversations in ways that will be the most valuable for you and your time as well, right?
So offer some context before just saying things.
Like I reached out to Justin out the blue, and when I reached out to Justin, I came correct. I was like, hey, Justin, you don't know me, but I've been listening to you on podcasts. I've been a big fan of your restaurants when I was living in Philly. I'm building this concept, and this is what I've been doing for the past so many years. I reached out to him in 2021 before we opened up at the Post, but I gave him the whole rap sheet of what I did from 2017, working at Chipotle, learning under home cooks, these dinners I had on my belt, and I'm not saying you have to wait till you get to that point before you reach out to somebody, but Justin fired an email back to me in less than an hour.
He's responsive.
Because he was like, bro, like, you're serious. And I also mentioned, and I remember hearing you on this podcast where you said, hey, you're willing to help people. And I'm like, I'm one of those, I am people.
Yeah. What's going on, restaurant owners? I want to tell you about the fun we're having and the connections we're making over at Restaurant Unstoppable Network. As a matter of fact, if you're enjoying the podcast, you're going to love the network because the network just mirrors what's happening on the podcast, but we're just going deeper and making connections. Not only am I connecting you with the leading restaurateurs on the podcast, I'm connecting you with the experts that they're going to become unstoppable. Just this week, the co-owners of Relish Bar and Restaurant in Houston, Texas joined us, and they brought their realtor with us, and we went deep into advice on site selection. We also had time to talk about tip pooling. It was great. You don't need to break the bank on restaurant coaching and consulting. All you truly need is peers, people who can reinforce that you are taking the next right best step, and access to an amazing network of the best. I can't wait to see you there. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live. This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce you today's guest, chef owner, aka block captain of ChòpnBlọk, Chef Ope Amosu. My man, chef, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Hey, man, look, like I told you, I've been listening to your podcast since 2017, bro. So to be here, having people hear my voice and my story, and it's definitely a full circle moment. So I appreciate you having me.
And it's popping here, man. If I had any ounce of influence on your success, it's truly an honor to see what you've done here. And I got here like around, I want to say like 1 o'clock, and I was expecting it to die down, and they stay busy straight until it's 3 o'clock now, 3 p.m. And it's even now you can hear the noise in the background. So yes, congratulations on your success.
We prayed for this for a long time.
Hey, somebody was listening.
There we go.
Yeah. So I can't wait to dive into your story and to find out more about who you are and how you got to where you are today. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra and get right on that mic.
Man, it's something I lean my hat on, which is what is yours is yours.
What is yours is yours.
What
dive
is yours
into
is
that.
yours.
What does that mean to you?
So look, I believe that, our steps are already ordained here, and if you put your mind to something, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
People are not going to really be able to stop, that blessing that's on the other side for you. So lean into that 100%. Do what you can to make sure that it's attainable and you give yourself your best effort. I think a lot of times we deal with imposter syndrome as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that kind of help you
I'm sure you didn't have anything to do with that.
Come on, bro.
No background
definitely.
in food and beverage.
I am very much human. Very much human. But no, seriously, though, like I really believe a lot of times people say, hey, don't share your dreams, don't share your visions with people. It can always be duplicated. That's cool and all, but I believe what's mine is mine, and I'm going to go get it regardless.
I love that.
What is yours is yours.
Yeah, when I hear that, like perception is reality. If you believe you can't do it, if you believe you don't deserve it, if you believe it's out of reach for you, you're right.
100%.
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right, is what Ford said, right?
100%.
And I hear that in the quote that you shared with us.
Yes, sir.
So awesome.
That one's for free. You got it.
Man. Awesome way to get this thing started. So before we go back and talk about the beginning, like, where are you today? 2 locations, ChòpnBlọk. You don't have any other restaurants, right?
No, 2 locations, ChòpnBlọk. I'm all in on ChòpnBlọk. I don't really care for anything else. ChòpnBlọk all the way.
First location was counter service.
First location still running as counter service it's inside the Post Houston, which is downtown Houston. It's a big entertainment complex in the middle of downtown Houston. We opened that one in November of 2021.
Okay.
Counter service model, really, really, I would say, digestible, short menu. In there, we have maybe 6 seats.
Okay.
We're talking about 670 square foot total between front of house, back of house storage. And now we have our flagship location, which we opened in October of last year, 2024. So we just clocked in on a year here. This is about 3,060 square feet. This is an all-day restaurant, right? Full service.
Sure is.
Got a full bar. It started off as counter service for about a week. And then the people said, it's too cute in here. We're not getting up. So, we decided not to go against the grain too much. And
you made it cozy,
really
man. I'll tell you that. I was
space.
hanging out on these couches. I felt like I was on a couch, but I was at a table sitting in a booth. Not quite a booth, but the chairs.
At your African auntie's house.
Yeah, you don't want to go anywhere. That's for sure. It's super cozy. So in the original location, that was 2022. November 21. Okay.
21.
So it's been a little over 4 years all in.
Yes, sir.
That first location, where are you at in terms of, it's all counter service? What kind of, what are the numbers associated with that? What kind of
that one's been busting out the seams, man. We, I'll give you some high level. That location clocks in close to about $2 million.
$2 million total revenue.
Yeah. And then it's an interesting model because it is a licensing agreement that we have with the facilities.
Okay.
So I can't share everything based off of that contractual agreement.
Right. That makes sense.
But we are able to still preserve double-digit margins on the bottom line.
So you're doing over 10% profit.
Yes, sir. So but we don't have a rent. We don't have a fixed rent. It's all a revenue sharing model.
Okay.
So off the top, anything I take, they collect right on top of that. I can't give the numbers on that.
No, I respect that. I mean, it's I love talking the numbers, man, because we don't talk numbers enough, and I think there's no benchmarks. Because we don't talk the numbers, we don't know what's good, we don't know what's possible, and it's a weird question to come out of the gates with, and I recognize that, and I appreciate people getting open and vulnerable. What about this location? How many seats are in this location?
So this location, inside and outside combined, gives you roughly about 100.
Okay.
We have about 72 seats inside, and depending on how we set up the patio, we can get about another 30 out there.
And you got about a little over a year under your belt of operating?
Right at 1 year. Yeah, right at 1 year. So this one is doing its thing.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So we're doing top line here. We're running at about a $5 million run rate here. And then we are at our prime cost anywhere between 50 to 55% on there.
That's great.
We're able to operate the model really well, and we have been able to exceed our expectations relative to our rent percentage. So we're doing about 20%
profit. Yeah, man, that's fantastic. I can't wait, man. EBITDA, cool. And can you say what your rent is percentage?
So right now we are doing. My target is 6%. But based off of revenue, we're closer to about 3 to 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're beating the target by half.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have a pretty good idea. I'm curious. Do you do a lot of takeout too?
We do quite a bit of takeout.
Yeah.
We do both direct as well as through third parties.
Okay, what's that split look like?
It's not much.
Yeah.
It's not too much. It's growing, but we really just turned like coming in after a year is when we turned on Uber Eats.
Yeah.
We were exclusively on DoorDash with it before, and then our own service. So online takeout business is less than 10% of what we do.
All right, I think we'll pull back the layers on that, but I'm just trying to get an idea of the full business model. So I love talking to people like you, man, because you didn't really have a traditional entry into the restaurant industry. I think you were up until like 2017 working at GE, correct?
Yeah.
And then only a couple years after that, 3 years after that, you open your brick and mortar.
Yep.
So, but where does it make sense to start sharing your story? Where do you want to start?
I mean, wherever we want to start, man. I think I've been living this West African experience my whole life, growing up in Houston, being a child of Nigerian immigrants. Moved here when I was like 2 going on Sorry, I moved here when I was going on 4. I left London, moved to Nigeria, and then came here right before I turned 4. But you know, I think industry-wise, like, 2017, January 18, 2017 is when I had that aha moment.
The itch.
Yeah. I went to business school, graduated from Rice Business School here in Houston in 2014.
Okay.
Took that as an opportunity to pivot and go into the energy industry. Started working in oil and gas as a corporate sales executive, basically on their sales and marketing executive level leadership track. What
were you selling?
So I was on the oil field production chemistry side of things. So I was responsible for managing relationships, coming up with Salesforce effectiveness strategy. Ultimately, the ask of me was to take what the company did in the Middle East, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Those were the markets where we had a minimal upstream oil and gas production chemical business.
Okay.
And learn the business, come up with strategies on how we can continue to expand and grow that part of the business, but most importantly, determine the business plan for how we build that in the U.S. And so I spent about 2.5 years in a lot of international markets. I was based in Philly, but I was often living in Dubai or doing work in Latin America,
Southeast Asia, South America. I saw it too.
Exactly.
That sucks.
Yeah, terrible job. But then it became really cool because they started sending me to West Texas, Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? So a little bit different, but that was my life, right? And as I was doing that, I was able to essentially, travel the world and experience so many things. And I started noticing the way that my culture was just not being as represented the way that I wanted to be able to access it, right? Like, regardless of where I was, I had to travel 45 minutes to an hour outside of my way to tap into where my immigrant community settled in that specific part of wherever I was, to be able to, like, hear the language, have the food, smells, music,
right,
all of that, right? And it just didn't sit right with me. And I know that, with my attachment to who I am and the continent, and how there's, over 43 million people who have direct ties right back to that part of the world, it just didn't make sense to me why, like, I had to hustle to find myself, right? I just have always grown up, like, being so enamored with food and food culture. It's the way my family fellowships.
It's everything.
It's everything. It's where you break bread.
Yeah, I think we take for granted. If you're alive today, all you know is abundance. Well, not everybody, but most of the world knows just, like, food is just this thing that it's literally listed as a commodity.
You can't do it without.
But I think it's more than a commodity. It's literally life. It's family. It's culture. It's everything.
Right. That's right. It's fellowship. It's the way that we did deals on the table. Like, that was what I always looked forward to, was getting outside of the office setting and meeting with clients after that, right?
Yeah.
That's where a lot of connections truly started to happen for me. It's the same way with, like, how my family fellowship. I mean, dude, I was, I joke sometimes, say, actually, I really started the food game when I was, like, in elementary school. I used to be selling Ope sauce in the cafeteria or slinging cookies on Fridays and stuff like that.
So the entrepreneurial bug was in you, man.
Always. But seriously, though, I think for me, like, all roads, again, led to January 18th of 2017. I was actually visiting Houston at the time on my way to a conference for work, and I had passed by Piata, the Italian street food.
Past guest on the show.
Yep, and I need to listen to that episode. But whatever it was, like, I had kind of already been sharing this pain point with my sister, who lived in D.C. at the time, some friends of mine who lived in Philly. We were enamored by Kava Sweet Green, asking why there wasn't one for us. And so one of my buddies was like, oh, yeah, when you go to Houston, check out Piata. I could never find it. I happened to be finding it on the way to this conference, and that's when the light bulb went off, and I said, that's what I'm going to go do.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to create the first modern West African-inspired food and beverage concept to share the beauty of my culture with the world in languages that people understand. Yeah,
and Piata is a fast casual Italian concept based out of either Dayton or Cincinnati,
Ohio. Yeah.
A really great interview, but that they took. I think they were one of the first to apply that fast casual model to Italian food. Nobody was really doing it before that. And you're reminding me of a quote that I once heard that was actually the inspiration I needed to start this podcast. If you're looking for something and you can't find it, there's a good chance you're not the only person looking for it, and there's an opportunity there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and that's what you did.
I identified a pain point that mattered a lot to me, and I figured that there's people who come from where I come from that I know we've been dealing with this gap that we've been trying to figure out, why do we have to live like this? And I often say, like, one of my other analogies I use is, like, the beauty of the iPad, right? I remember when the iPad first got released, And I was one of those folks that was like, why do we need this device? We already have the iTouch. We already have our phones. Like, this is just a bigger version of things we already have, right? Yeah. But one of the things I felt was super genius that I just didn't know at the time was how, Apple really believed like this was going to be a critical component in people's tech arsenal, right? And that is true to this day, right? And so for me, when I looked at the concept as well, I was like, I definitely want to make sure that I build something that people who come from where I come from can appreciate and recognize and celebrate. But I also want to build it in a way where it spans beyond their access to the communities that we just happen to settle in. And I was like, most of those people don't even know that they have this pain point until we expose it to them. And once they're hooked, it's going to be just like
you don't know until you know, until you've made aware.
So,
like, I think that's like Ford has another quote that if people asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. You don't know what you don't know what you're looking for until you show them like this is actually a better option.
That's right.
I'm curious, what's the split like? What in terms of your target market, your actual customer base? What percentage of them are Nigerian?
Nigerian, I mean, less than 20%.
Yeah.
I'd even venture to say probably less than 10%. And I always caveat that and say, don't get it twisted. My community will ride so hard for me, right? They love this concept, right? You do get those that are just like, they might not fully understand it, or they are who I call like the ultra purists that are like, yeah, this isn't the way I grew up eating it. And I'm like, 100%.
Nobody does it quite like grandma.
It's not meant to be the way you grew up eating it. It's meant to be what it is, and appreciate it for that. But no, I mean, my community rides with me. It's just that one of the things that we've done that we often get told that just hasn't really happened before is we've come up with a way to celebrate our cuisine, but also invite others to the table, right?
Yeah.
So one of the we were recently reviewed on Texas Monthly Magazine. Paula Forbes, shout out to her. And, she gave us a glowing review. And I think the title was like ChòpnBlọk is Houston at its best.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the dining room, it is Houston at its best, meaning, Houston is the most diverse city in the country. And to me, as much as I love my people and I love them down, right, the intention I have for this is to create a space that can be as diverse as the communities that we serve.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like that's truly how we make the level of progress and grow the way that I want to see our story, our narrative spread. And I want it to be told by us, not by others. So
I love that, man.
That's really like the intention there.
And you're making me think, like my mission statement is to inspire, empower, and change the world through inspiring, empowering, and changing the restaurant industry. And I think that the restaurant industry, if there is an industry that's positioned to change the world, it's the restaurant industry. And food is such a vehicle to connect and to understand a culture and to, I think, and when I say this, I get worried when I say this sometimes. I'm worried that people are going to take it out of context, but they've done studies where they connect the brain to like this machine and there's a bunch of sensors and they show a bunch of random images in front of the person with their brain connected to this like sensor.
Yeah.
And they'll show things that like anything like balloons, a house, and then they'll show random things that are supposed to be scary and bad, like a spider, a snake, something gross like feces or like vomit. Like I hate to be gross, but the whole idea is they're trying to see what parts of the brain light up when you see something that's a threat to you, and all those things could hurt you. We over time evolved this instinct to be adverse from things that could cause us harm. And one of the inconvenient, sad truths is when you see faces of people that don't look like you in that slideshow, the same part of the brain lights up. And they think the reason for this is because for the majority of our existence, if we came across people that didn't sound or look like us, they were a threat because they had different culture, different. It was a threat for the majority of our existence. Look what happened when the English came to the Americas and they transferred a bunch of different diseases and people, like, almost the entire race of people died. Like that's an example of it being a real threat.
Makes sense. And
it's important that we recognize that there's this part of us that no longer serves us, and to like own that and say this no longer serves us, and to like own it and say like let me understand this other culture. And I think there is no better way to do that than food.
And I think food has the beauty, right, when presented the right way. it has the beauty to exceed that barrier.
It breaks down the walls.
100%,
and then you
100%.
take that, you eat, you share a table, you share food. Oh my God, this is delicious. What's the history of this? Like what is your culture? It forces people to understand perspective.
It invokes natural curiosity.
It's beautiful.
100%.
Yeah, I love that. Restaurant owners, what if I told you there was a way to lower your prime cost by $1,000 and get paid $1,000 on top of that? If it sounds too good to be true, it's not. Restaurant Systems Pro is offering that deal right now to 10 of my lucky listeners. Listen closely. Join the Restaurant Systems Pro 30-day prime cost challenge, and if you successfully improve your prime cost by $1,000 or more compared to the same 30 days the year prior, they will pay you $1,000. Find the link in the show notes titled Restaurant Systems Pro 30-day prime cost challenge. Click that link and get signed up today. Only 10 people are going to get approved into this program. Get on it. Okay, so this is why you want to do what you want to do. Yeah. This is what the inspiration for ChòpnBlọk was. Yeah. What were your biggest challenges in the early? So you didn't have any experience working in restaurants. So what'd you do?
Man. So 2017, I had the idea. I started just kind of, asking people around me like what they thought about it. Started off with my family. Also went back to some of my business school professors, kind of trying to get their insight. One of the big things that I felt that served me well was I started speaking with other veterans in the industry, right? I was able to get connected with some folks who had been doing this for a while.
Who'd you reach out to? What kind of people were you looking for?
Yeah, so I reached out to my business school. I reached out to Rice University business program, and they connected me with Andy Oweda from the Kirby Group. Karen Mann, who at the time was had just closed down Oxheart with Justin Yu, right? And then that's kind of where I started just kind of going on a goose hunt from wherever they would send me. And actually, even in business school, funny enough, one of the projects I did, I actually interviewed the Pappas family as well, right? And so, it was just trying to understand, the good, the bad, and the ugly a little bit.
What did they teach you? What were the biggest lessons during those conversations?
Yeah, one, I just felt like it's wild how I feel like this is actually attainable, but also the level of detail and specificity that they have. I remember meeting with Andy. This was right when they were getting ready to open Heights Beer Garden, and he's on the floor. He's looking at the floor, picking up a random cigarette butt, things like that only he is seeing at that moment, right? Just the level of detail and that was important. The other thing that I really learned, and it came actually from the conversation with my business school professor, was I know people talk about the restaurant industry like it is this big, bad, scary thing, but he's it's just a business at the end of the day, right? If you can come up with a way to make your outputs exceed your inputs, just look at it as a widget. If you can come up with a way to, he used the metaphor, just maximize your chicken, right? What else can you get out of that chicken that's going to exceed how much you put into that chicken?
Yeah.
You might have a business here.
Maximize that yield.
Exactly. So, those were some of the things that I was hearing that was reassuring. I listened to a whole lot of podcasts. That's where I came up with yours.
Oh, man, thank you.
I mean, I don't know if I can shout out other ones on this podcast.
Go for it, man. Yeah, more love.
Man, I was hooked on how I built this for so long, and so it's just kind of giving me that inspiration. But I think most importantly, the biggest thing that I ended up doing was telling myself, man, the way I got into the oil and gas industry through business school, I basically leapfrogged a bunch of steps, meaning I had never worked in the field, but I was making decisions that impacted what was going to happen on the field. And I was making decisions that if I had knowledge of working in the field, I'd probably be a lot more sharp in my game. And so I didn't want to make that same, what I would say a mistake in creating the business that I really wanted to create. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually go and start getting some true boots on the ground. I put an application in at Chipotle because they move the most rice that I know.
What did they say when they saw your application come through?
You're hired. Nah.
They're you sure you got this came to the right place?
I mean, look, that was probably one of my toughest interviews. Why? Because I had to scrub down my resume so bad. I led with the fact that I worked at Ruby Tuesdays in college. You know what I mean? That was it, right? And my goal was, again, to really get some true hands-on experience to understand how an operation that can scale truly works, right? I was a prep cook and dishwasher.
Yeah.
That was the most entry-level position that they offer.
Humbling,
right?
sure.
I was in there scrubbing bathroom toilets, at the same time prepping all the vegetables, at the same time washing all the dishes, at the same time the last person to leave the restaurant every single night, right? But being that fly on the wall, understanding how much volume typically moves through that kitchen, understanding how many customers are turning hourly, understanding how much I'm actually prepping, how many people we're staffing, things like that, right, were all like context that I wanted to make sure I understood as I was also writing my business plan.
Right.
I didn't want to just write a whole bunch of BS off of just assumptions and misinformation. I was pretty convinced that if I'm going to go and create something that's a fast casual concept and I'm coming out the door and people don't know me, I'm not going to do the same numbers as Chipotle. So my financials better not say that I'm going to be coming in and, at the same time doing $3.5-4 million that the Chipotle I'm working at was doing, right? Like that just didn't make sense. So yeah, really just trying to like wrap my head around that. Also, subscribing to the fact that like, if I can, as a corporate oil and gas professional, humble myself and take this nighttime gig to do something else, work in this industry and scrub toilets, I'm going to appreciate
and if
the
you,
person that
and if
comes
you still
in
like
and
it
does
after
that
doing
for
that,
me. Yeah, so like, it was, there's like that intrinsic value to it, that kind of altruistic, perspective on it. But then also like, the true like, business aspect of it as well too, right? So that's why I started doing 2017. I did that. And then end of 2017, my wife and I, we moved back to Houston. 2018, actually before then, my wife was like, yeah, the reason you had this issue though is because you don't know how to make the food. And that's when I was like, aha, you're right about that.
What was that issue that specifically?
I had to drive 45 minutes an hour away, go get the food because I didn't know how to make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, if you actually knew how to make this food,
you wouldn't be driving.
You would just go to the grocery store, buy what you need to buy, and make what you need to make, right?
So what was next?
So then I was like, you know what? You on something, right? I used to have this belief that for ChòpnBlọk to work, it was going to take 3 people. A partnership of 3 people, because I believe that startups are a team sport. And those 3 people are going to be, one, the person that's there to build it. And I was like, that's my job, right? I just went to business school. I've been building businesses for GE. Cool, that's me. Someone to run it. That's the person that has the operational mindset that wants to be in the restaurants.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on ground.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, that's not me. And then someone to cook it. And I was like, that person doesn't necessarily have to be in the restaurants, but I'm thinking more kind of like a corporate chef type.
Intellectual property.
And I'm like, I need that person, right? My chief technology officer, if you want to look at it that way, right?
Creative, right.
And I was like, and that's not me either, right? So for a while, I was just looking for like, who's going to partner with me? I hit up people I saw online, met with people that I had like in my network or extended networks who I felt were like kind of food adjacent, to see if it would be something they'd be of interest in. But one of the things I realized quickly was like my passion for this was so big that like I just got tired of like feeling like I had to wait on someone else to be able to live out my dream, right? Or to be able to put this dream in motion the way that I was feeling so invigorated to go and do. And so when she said, yeah, the reason you have this issue is because you don't know how to cook the food, I was like, you know what? That's just a business problem. Like I can go find out how to make a product.
Right.
And
get an MVP.
I was like, you know what? In my community, I'm not going to learn it going to go work at an African restaurant, nor like am I going to go learn it working at any other restaurant. I need to learn from the best. In my community, the people that make the best versions of our food are the home cooks.
Yeah.
Whenever we have weddings, big events, celebrations, whatever the case may be, right? Even if you're having small gatherings in the home, like you are going to reach out to these home cooks who are these pillars in our community who are known for making a specific dish very well, and everybody buys that dish from them for their functions. I wanted to get close with them to learn how to make the food the way that it was usually made back in our home countries. I wanted to also make sure that we were celebrating more than just Nigeria, but West Africa as a region.
Yeah.
Because what I was building was something that I wanted everyone that comes from that part of the world to feel connected to. And so I started meeting, the first person I met with, fortunately, was the person I felt made like the best version of the most.
You say unfortunately or fortunately?
Fortunately.
Okay.
Was the person I felt made the best version of one of the most iconic West African dishes ever created, which is jollof rice. I felt like jollof rice, which is like the precursor to Southern jambalaya, a tomato-based rice dish. I felt like West Africans are going to come and taste our jollof rice to figure out are we legit or not, right? So I wanted to make sure we hit that out the park.
Yep.
I was just blessed that I felt like the best version came from my cousin, who also made it for other people's parties and functions. And I sat with her, and she taught me how to make traditional, smoky, Nigerian-style jollof rice.
So you approach your cousin.
Yeah.
You also approach other people, too?
Yep.
How were they receptive of you coming in and being, I want to learn this food so I can bring it to a restaurant?
I kind of shared the whole vision with them, right? Like, look, I want to learn how to make this food because I am working on this concept, and I want to be able to have a good foundation on how this food is typically made, and then I can take my own lived experiences and recreate it. And what I'm going to do with it first is I'm actually going to run it through a series of private, invite-only underground dinners. And I want to invite you to attend these dinners, and I want you to tell me what you think about this rendition I'm making of the food, and I want you to see what other people are saying around.
Okay.
Right? And I want you to help me educate them on why the food that we make from where we come from is important.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to highlight up to this point, what you did, I think, is exactly what I would tell anybody to do if you want to open a restaurant. If you have no experience. First and foremost, go to the people who have done it and go get that advice. Go get that mentorship. And if you can leverage a network like your college university, I think that's the most valuable thing if you do go to some kind of culinary school. It's the network that you get from that school. It's not how to hold a knife.
Yeah.
Like that isn't going to be what makes you successful. It's who they're going to introduce you to.
Yep.
And that's what Rice University did for you.
Yeah.
And just leveraging that network, going to successful people and learning. And then the next best thing you did is you went and you worked for the image in your mind of what you thought was the best in terms of a business model.
Yep.
Chipotle. You went and you found a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine, and you said, let me see what's behind or under the hood. Let me lift up the skirt and see what we're working with here. What does it look like? And you learned, and you got that perspective, and you were humble, and you did the nasty work to know.
The work, bro.
Yeah, and you really wrapped your mind around what that looks like. It's exactly what I would tell anybody to do. And I think going to a corporation is a great way to learn what systems look like and what's possible.
That's right.
I love your story, man. And I think the next thing, like what we're leading into, is the next best way to start is small. Yeah. I think for some people, they think that you have to go spend $2 million on a brick and mortar and invest all this money, and you don't even know if what you has sticks, if it has traction.
Yep.
You have no clue. Start small.
Yep.
Start with parties in your home. Build word of mouth. Build hype. See if there's interest. It's exactly what I would tell people to do.
I started that joint with like $400, man. That's what I did. Okay, so I knew in my community, whenever, like, growing up, whenever we had someone's trying to have a baby shower or a birthday party or whatnot, right? Like, the finesse that we did culturally is we would reach out to a relative who lives in a very nice apartment complex, right? Because the apartment complexes usually have a club room that the tenants are able to rent out at a very, very low price point, and ultimately that's where we would host our events, right? And so for me, in this case, I was like, I need an MVP. I want to be very lean. That's something I learned, even kind of from my corporate life at the time, too.
MVP stands for minimal viable product, too.
Exactly. Like, from my corporate life, before we sank money into a big capital investment, we always ran some sort of bench scale pilot to prove the concept out. And so I reached out to my cousin. She had a very nice apartment she was living in. I was like, hey, how much does it cost to rent out your club room? $200 later, we had the club room rented out. I now had a venue to host this underground dinner series. In addition to that, I started inviting people that, one, first started with my own personal network who I felt represented various different customer segments. I wanted to see which customer segment would take to what it was that I was creating, right? And my background is in sales and marketing. My business school degree, MBA, undergrad was in marketing. So I think with that brain often, right? I started thinking about different customer archetypes, classifying them, and said, okay, who do I know that kind of fits this archetype? Let me see if I can invite them. And so I'd send a personalized invitation to them. Hey, Eric, it's been a while. I haven't connected in a while. I just moved back to Houston. I'm actually working on this really, really cool restaurant concept.
Like,
I would love to have you do me the honor to offer some feedback on what I'm creating. The only thing is I need you to put down a $40 RSVP deposit, which you receive back once you arrive. And in addition, you can't show up alone. You need to bring a +1, right? My goal was to invite 10 people who would then help me bring another 10 people. We'd have 20 people in the room. They all felt like it was a great evening out. But throughout this entire experience, when they arrived, they started to realize they were part of a bigger community, right? It was 19 or 18 other people there. And they had kind of that first bat at helping me, someone that they cared about, like create something of value, right? And so they would eat throughout. We would talk about the concept. I'd pick their brain. It all kind of went back to this this other aspect of like my corporate background, which was like a terminology called customer co-creation. Don't build it in a vacuum. Build it alongside your customers. They'll lead you the right way.
Yeah.
And so that was what I was doing, right? I was also trying to combat the fact that you often hear, can African food scale? Or if it was such a good idea, someone would have done it already, right? A lot of subjective questions, right? And I wanted to have hard data that really showed what people were taking to it. Let's take a lot of the subjectivity out and let's instead have a way that we can trend that subjectivity per se, right? What are we getting scored on different metrics that were important, be it the food, be it the drink, be it the overall experience, right? On the back of these cards, so I'm kind of going ahead of myself, but in the experience, they would dine, and then they'd also have to fill out these like feedback cards, right? Like we said, it's these keeping it real cards, right? And on the back of it, and everything was done anonymously. So like it was like, hey, look, don't worry about making me feel good today. Set me up for success, right? Give me the real. Do it anonymously. I'll read these later, and then I'll iterate on it. But on the back, it had questions like, how often do you eat out for lunch? How often do you eat out for dinner? What side of town? How much you spend it? Things like that.
I'm trying to find out where your target market is.
Target market, true customer data, because I knew there was going to be one day where I'm going to have to flex that data if it's, trying to get funding, if it's, continue just to like build out the viability of the concept, bring it in partners, whatever the case may be. But it's not subjective. At this point, like I've talked to this many people. By the time I did the third dinner, I didn't know anyone in the room, right? I would run these twice a month. And so now I had this whole book of data that I was able to iterate upon when it came to like, adjusting my recipes, learning how people were taking to these dishes I had recently like just learned how to make, right? From these home cooks, and then put my own spin on them, right? In 2018, March is when I did the first one. I ran that through 2018, 2019, all the way up until 2020. One of the things that happened, though, that I didn't necessarily lock in on in the beginning was because I would get someone's information, like they'd give me their feedback, I wouldn't invite them again. Like they've already done the whole gamut. They've given me the input, but people actually like were having such a great time. At the end of each dinner, I'd say, hey, who would you want to gift this to? So they would give me they'd open up their own communities to me, their own network. And so like they wanted to come back with their network to like enjoy it, and I wasn't allowing that. And so that's what then moved me to start doing these quarterly restaurant takeovers where there were basically 100-person public pop-up dinners that I would do, and I would partner with an existing restaurant for a night. We'd turn it into ChòpnBlọk for that night, and that was like my large-scale takeovers.
I love that.
And so one, I was gathering data, but also I was building a book of business and building a customer base long
building
before
relationships.
we ever opened up the restaurant.
So how long were you doing the dinner parties before you did your first pop-up?
So my first private dinner was March of 2018, and then in November of 2018 was when we had our first, what I called restaurant takeover.
And how many dinners would you have a month?
So I would do them quarterly.
No, not the pop-ups, the actual dinners.
The 20-person ones?
Yeah.
I was doing about 2 a month.
2 a month.
Yeah.
So you got about 24 of those under your belt.
Yeah.
You got, 24 times 20, 480 people you fed. You got that feedback from.
Yeah, and then I also started taking them into like, because then we started getting asked like, well, do you do catering events? Like, we have this function. I would take them to these things and be like, yo, fill this out. Like, so we were getting a whole bunch of data, and I still got the cards and like all the trends of.
And how would you find the restaurants to do the pop-ups in? How would you approach those people?
Man, God.
What's that?
I said God. So the first one we did was we actually, we didn't know anything. Like, if we would have really like been at where we're at now, I'd have probably blocked my blessing, right? But I was ignorant. So I got connected with this couple who owned a coffee shop in the arts district called Cafeza. It's no longer there. They closed during the pandemic, but through one of my good friends that went to business school with me, like they just kind of, I don't know how our circle started to like interconnect. I think I had worked there like one day, like just kind of doing some work on the side, like, you know, getting away from my home office and working out of that coffee shop. Long story short, I met the owners. They're very entrepreneurial minded, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we heard about this thing you're doing. Like, would you, like, what's next?" And I was like, "Well, I want to do these restaurant takeovers." Cafeza probably it's at 50. We got it to sit 50, but I'm talking about, man, it was probably definitely like maybe 1,500 square foot.
Okay.
Like coffee shop, like really small.
Small.
You know, they basically offered their space and said, hey, you want to take it over on a Sunday and do a ChòpnBlọk event here, do a pop-up. And so that's when, like, we did the first one, and we were like, wow, this place, like, it, like, we choked in the sense where, like, operationally, like, people were waiting for a long time.
But that's why you do
like
these
that.
things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we also were like, man, we didn't realize, like, you know, we actually need more equipment than this. Actually, the first run around, we didn't realize that was what the problem was, right? We just thought it was like us. And then when we ran the second one in their space the next quarter, we were like, oh, like low key, I think we just need a bigger space to pull this off, right? But that was the first location. And then the third one, probably like the third through like the 6th or 7th, because we started doing some like private ones.
You started doing it in 2019?
The first one was 2018.
November.
And then I think it was like February.
Would have been 2019 was the second one. And you did one a quarter. And how many years did you do this?
One a quarter. We did 2019, and then we had one in January of 2020, and we had another one slated for March of 2020. And that one we had to refund everybody their money because the world shut down.
All in, you only did 6. One in 2020, one in 2018, 4 in 2019, and 1 in 2020.
Yeah. Six public ones. We also had, like, we worked with Rice University. They wanted to do one exclusively for Rice students or Rice MBA students and alumni. So, like, they bought one out, so we squeezed one in there, but it wasn't public facing.
Are you working for GE this entire time?
Yeah. Well, GE technically, but we ended up getting sold to a company called Suez, the French multinational. So, but yeah, like same business.
Got it. So, thank you for that, like MBA and how to do a pop-up, and how to scale into a pop-up. Like that is how you do it.
Yeah.
So 2020 happens, the whole world kind of slows down. Your momentum slows down.
Yep.
It wasn't until 2022, end of 2022, that you open your brick and mortar.
2021.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's hard to keep all the dates straight sometimes. So I don't want to get too much into what happened during COVID unless there's something really important to that story that you think.
I mean, we just stuck with it. Like, you know, we started trying to learn how to, like, I ordered like a whole 18-wheeler full of like insulated thermal liners to learn how to ship food across the country. I'm still sitting on a bunch of those liners.
No, that's right. You
now.
were doing that. You started shipping food.
Yeah, we were shipping food around the country. We were partnering with like celebrities that we had kind of created relationships with in 2019 and the beginning of 2020 to hop on like different like digital opportunities they had going on. But the biggest thing I would say, like the biggest win of 2020 for us was Rice University asked us to be the first of their alumni featured businesses to send out gift packages to their donors. And we put one together that featured like some of the popcorn flavors that I had worked on. So I was working on like different pantry items, worked on some flavors of some popcorns, sent those out, and one of the recipients of it was a gentleman by the name of Frank Liu, big real estate guy here in Houston, and he was the one who was actually working on the post.
Okay.
And so that's how.
So I want this in my
was
property.
Like, yeah, let me connect with this business owner. We met, and that's when he shared what he was building at the post and offered us the opportunity if we were interested.
So that's how you found your first brick and mortar spot.
That's right.
Fast casual concept. How many seats did you say it was?
It's like 6.
And it was the end of 2021 you opened.
Yes.
Did you have to go raise money? Did all this data that you collected over the years help you go get that money, or did this gentleman also come with investment?
I mean, so like, you know, even leading up to this, like when I started the dinners in 2018, I pitched them as Vision 2020. Like, I want to have 2 years of running this and building the foundation so we can then take our next step. And quickly into that, I said, I think the next step is actually going to be into a food hall, right? That was like when I started doing research and seeing how food halls were actually getting ready to break into Houston. And I had been exposed to them from living in the Northeast. And I was enamored by it when I saw them in the Northeast. Like, lived in Philly, so Reading Terminal Market, a bunch of them in different types of concepts in New York. So I was like, I think this actually could be a good way for us to, like, connect versus going into, like, a food truck next, or even, like, going into, like, a true standalone. And so, like, that was my idea there. And so the reason I like food hall is because food halls are on that revenue sharing model. And it's usually a very, very small capital outlay in order to, like, build out the stall, right? Part of the revenue sharing model is that the facility is going to build out your kitchen for you. You just tell them what you need.
Maintenance, all that other
all
stuff.
of that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that was kind of the thought. And so I did go and raise some money. I raised a little less than $500,000, but I raised it off of, I want to be able to have capital on hand so that once we outgrow this food hall, we can actually open another location.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, also, you might not outgrow that. You might have a longer runway than you thought. That you're going to need to get off the ground, and that gives you operating capital.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we didn't need nearly as much.
You caught
as what
traction.
I tried to go raise, but
you never got into a food hall, right? That never happened.
no. So the first location's in the food
post.
hall. Yeah,
It was a food hall.
Yeah, post
Okay.
the food hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
So like that was the whole plan, and I also understood, like, it seems like banks like to give money to people that have money. Right?
Yeah.
So like that was
It's a good bet.
That was how I did the first raise. I raised it as convertible debt, so I did a convertible note round. So basically, kind of like some friends and family, and just kind of like really intimate network of people who had agreed that they were willing to essentially lend me the money to prove out the concept before we actually put a true value on the concept. And then when the day comes that we do actually raise an institutional round that has a value or a price associated with it, they get a discount on that price, and the debt that they gave me plus the interest it accrued can convert into equity at like a prearranged rate, right? That was like the terms. So they were willing to do that.
Where'd you go to learn this structure?
I mean, it's a structure that's often used in like tech startups, and asking around, like doing research. I had some really close friends of mine who started a fintech company on helping like schools raise money versus like selling candy instead. They kind of had this whole model, and so they actually went that route, was like convertible note. And so I started looking more into it because they always say like it's you don't really want to give up a whole bunch of equity. Equity's so expensive in the beginning, right? And so I learned about this tool, and I just pitched it to some folks that, like, at the end of the day, the truth is they were just investing because they believed in me.
Yeah.
And
you don't believe in concepts, you believe in people.
Yeah,
you don't
they were
invest
like,
in concepts, you
look,
invest
I think
in
this
people.
concept has traction. I've seen it grow organically. I've seen the way he's approached this. I want to be in on it. And if he is saying like, yo, lend me some money, and then I'm going to benefit from it when I do have the option to like convert that into ownership if I choose to at that point, like I'm down for it. And so like that's how I end up going about raising the money. And obviously I put my own money up front too, right? So people see like I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm real about mine.
Yeah.
Right? And so yeah, I raised that money. We opened up at the Post. We used less than $100K, so we were sitting on
400,
that capital.
yeah.
And then like restaurants are a short cycle business, right? Like we're not collecting money off of what you just ate on a net 30 basis. No, you're coming into the restaurant, you're gonna pay right now.
Yeah,
So quick cash flow starting to build. So we were able to put capital on the books, and it kept us looking exciting for ultimately when we went to go raise money for Montrose.
And you did that for 3 years before moving or expanding.
Yeah. We identified Montrose 2 years in.
We're at Montrose today.
Yeah, we're at Montrose today, flagship. Yeah, we identified this location about 2 years in, and we went through the SBA route.
What was about this space that lined up with all that data that you collected?
Man, a lot of things, bro. But I also think like it was the data on top of like, okay, now we've been at Post for 2 years, and Post is like a big entertainment hub for the city, and it's new, and it opened at the right time when when COVID kind of started to dissipate,
Lift,
and all the
People are chomping at the bit to get back.
Like, we had people come from everywhere to post, and then they would discover us, right? So it was both the pre-work we had done, but also just the way that we were able to execute at the post and ultimately become like the highest grossing concept in there, like one of the most popular concepts in the entire building. And so Montrose stuck out because, you know, I felt like one of the things that helped us at Post was a lot of open-mindedness. And Montrose is, you know, in so many ways, it's a restaurant row within the city of Houston. The neighborhood itself is also one of the most eclectic neighborhoods, I would say, just even in this part of the country, right? I needed people who would be open to experiencing what we had to offer. I wanted to have the opportunity to add something to the neighborhood that could continue to expand upon like the beauty of what the neighborhood is known to be able to offer. It's also adjacent to the historic Freedmanstown, which is where the first settlement of freed black slaves settled upon finding out that they had been freed at Juneteenth, right? Like, and so we're right there, and that was important to me too, because we are telling the story of the black diaspora, right? And being able to kind of reclaim, you know, space was important. It's also a part of town that people from all around like travel through or to, and so I just felt like, man, if we get and then like we're on Westheimer itself, like a very, very high traffic block corner of this neighborhood, right? And so a lot of that made sense. The rent made sense. And I was like, all right, you know what? Like the amount of space was 3,000 square feet. Like that seemed about right for us. So a lot of things just made it seem like it'd be the right move, and it's proven to be the case.
Any lessons from that first location that you corrected for in opening the second location?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, even just kind of the way we set up our kitchen, you know, we took some of the same layouts, but also made some adjustments in the back. You know, Montrose is different because like it's a larger like menu. You know, even just kind of opening up like the beverage component to what we offer now, like there's still been a whole lot of learning lessons coming into here that, you know, eventually whenever we get a new space, like we're going to take that knowledge with us into there as well. But, and then there's also like a lot of good, right? Like keep the menu, even if we're going to expand it, keep it digestible, right?
What do you mean by digestible? Like understanding what the food is?
We learned at the beginning at Post, we built a very nice space, right? If you walk into the Post, you walk by all of the stalls, and then you see ChòpnBlọk, and you're like, this place looks very different, right? I mean, it's a very, like, we use warm lighting. It looks like a warm space. It looks very lush. We have greenery, like, in the space. You know, we have different, like, textiles on the walls, like the wallpaper we chose to use, like the books that we have featured, right? And you go in the other spaces, and they didn't have that same style of a character. And so we knew we wanted to build Montrose in a way that, like, continue to make sure that you felt like you were at a ChòpnBlọk. But keeping it digestible in the sense of, like, when we made it that beautiful at Post, we noticed people would walk around the food hall, and they would stop in front of ours and just, like, be in awe.
Take it in, yeah.
And then they'd be like, that's cool. We don't know what they sell, though. African food, we don't know what to get. There's so many choices. Let's keep walking, right?
It's scary if you're not used to it. It's a lot of unfamiliar words and things, and until you put it in your mouth, you're like, damn.
That's the perception, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, for us, it was like, okay, look, we need to be able to, one, even when I was doing these dinners, I wanted to present the food in a way where a lot of the pairings that I would put, like if I'm going to eat jollof rice, I'm eating it with plantains. I like to eat mine with chicken. You know, things like that, right? Like that's how I built the dishes so that the consumer doesn't necessarily need to think about what goes with what. It's presented that way for you already, right? If you want to make modifications, look, it's your house. Do what you want to do. But if you don't want to have that, you know, decision anxiety, like we've already done all the thinking for you. All you need to know is the name of it. We'll tell you what's in it. We'll tell you if it's the favorite. And we even let you get a sample of it.
Yeah,
right?
you got to really educate your staff and help them know, make them know how to educate the consumer.
100%. Yeah. So, like, you know, to me, that's what I see as digestible, right? It's taking something that it takes a lot of moving parts and thought in creating, and then doing all the legwork and presenting it to the customer in a way where they don't have to think so hard about it.
Right.
And that's what we wanted to make sure that we still did here, even as we continue to expand the menu and focus more on like the stories that we're telling with each of the dishes, and let people enjoy it for what that is.
Nice. Did it get louder in here, or is this song just hit really hard?
It might have, bro. Let me know if we need to turn down.
No, you're good, man. As long as I can hear you, the people at home can hear you.
Okay,
how
cool.
you hear it in your headset is exactly how it will get published.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, cool.
One thing we say at ChòpnBlọk is the vibe is always included. So,
hey, man,
for y'all listeners, this is what it is.
It's cool. I love. I mean, it's a restaurant business podcast. There's restaurant noise in the background. I think this is the only podcast I can get away with this and have it be okay. But I love it. You guys have been so awesome, very welcoming here, and the vibe is great.
It.
So I want to know kind of like where you are now, because in the timeline, we're only a year out from where we are today, right? It's only about a year from when you opened this spot. So I guess one thing I'm curious about is having two concepts named the same thing, but they're different business models.
That's right.
Does that cause a lot of confusion, or like how has that been?
I think it does some, but not too much.
What do you think going forward? What do you want? Is it more this or more what you started?
I think we're going to continue to remain fit for purpose. I think the flagship, what we built here at Montrose, is probably going to be what we lead with more, right?
Say that one. I want to make sure you want to say that one more time.
I said it's more fit for purpose.
Okay.
Right? Again, ChòpnBlọk to me is really about how you feel, right? Yeah, we want to make a concept that's scalable. I think we're going to show up, in some cases, we'll show up in different ways in different spaces and what makes the most sense, right? But I do believe, like, the goal is to build more locations, and more of them going to be like the Montrose one, right?
Yeah. So it makes you've proven that the concept works in full service and fast casual.
Yeah.
So you can put it gives you a little diversity, a little mobility. What's the word? Like mobility, malleability. To be able to fit in wherever there's opportunity. Yep. I think if you can start that way, it might cause a little bit of confusion. Maybe there's a way you can rebrand the different, call it ChòpnBlọk.
Turn the music down a little bit. Thanks.
ChòpnBlọk, Express or something like that in the future. Whatever is on brand for you. But you've seen other people do it. I'm thinking of a concept in Atlanta, and it's Faris Kargar is the name of the guy. It's a beautiful concept. He has I want to say it's Palestinian maybe concept, but similar to you, it's a foreign cuisine. And they do a really phenomenal job. It's so elegant. The food is so delicious. Probably some similar ingredients. I mean, I don't know that part of the world really well, but similar profiles maybe. Anyway, my point is he has like this. He started off full service, and then they made a fast casual version of it, rendition of it, and that gives you that ability to capitalize on opportunity and move it into whatever space is available to you.
Kava did the same thing, right? Kava started off as a full service concept.
Did they?
Yeah, and then they ended up opening the fast casual. The fast casual is what took off, and they ran with that. I believe the full service is actually still open.
The OG?
But yeah, the OG is. But like even like one of my OGs is Justin Rosenberg over at Honeygrow. In Philly.
Dude, I've been going back and forth with him. I was actually supposed to connect with him on my way down here.
Okay.
We're going to make it happen. And
Me
whenever
too,
I'm driving through,
with him, he's
maybe we can sit down to him together. Maybe you can interview him. I'll just sit back and let it happen.
But no, Justin, I mean, he let me pick his brain before we opened up at the Post. And one of the things I asked him, I was like, so tell me about this whole Honey Grow, and then you created Mini Grow. They created Mini Grow in New York and so on, and he was just kind of talking about he's like if you're gonna do that, you have to be very clear because customers could possibly be confused about what is what, right? And I think here with us, it's maybe we're benefiting from the fact that we start off. It's kind of like how you're just kind of slowly growing the concept. We started off at the Post, and that's all we had, right? And people were able to appreciate it, and so now they see Montrose as that next evolution, right? But, it's no different than a restaurant that has a location and then also has a satellite location at an airport or in a mall or, the list goes on, right? A ball game, right? You're not necessarily expecting the same exact experience there as what you're expecting in maybe the standalone that you had been to, right? And so for us, I think we've kind of had that inverse where people saw the post, then they came to Montrose and they're like, whoa. But they don't forget the post, and the post is still running, right? So, I think, we're not, it's not that we're looking at, hey, we're going to go and open up a bunch more, post-type locations just like in the middle of the city in different places. But, like, we've been working for the last couple of years now with the Houston Rockets. Like, we're the first to ever bring West African food into a professional sports stadium in the U.S., right?
That's pretty cool.
And so, like, who knows where that relationship goes, but more than likely, if we were to ever have a permanent placement in there, it's going to be more like the Post, so that's what I mean. Or like even in the Houston has the largest medical center in the country, the Texas Medical Center.
Well, you've proven the concept works.
Yeah.
In both ways, and how you decide to rebrand and tweak it to make it less confusing.
Yep.
There's ways to do that. You'll figure it out. Yep. And I wanted to pay homage to Fars Kargar. It's Del Bar is the name of his restaurant, and his spin-off QSR counter service concept is called BB, which is also in a food court. Which is kind of, there's a lot of similarities there.
So shout out to the food courts out there.
And it was an Iranian concept, not Pakistani.
Where'd you say this is?
This is in Atlanta. I'll introduce you to Fars.
Nice.
He would take it in a heartbeat. Restaurant owners, what if I told you there was a way to lower your prime cost by $1,000 month over month and get paid $1,000? That sounds like a deal too good to be true, but that's exactly the deal that Restaurant Systems Pro is offering 10 of my lucky listeners. So why are they doing this? Because they consistently help their clients get between 15 and 25% profit in their business. And when they approach new clients and say, I can do the same thing for you, they get met with a lot of resistance. And because it sounds too good to be true, most restaurants think if you do between 5 and 10%, you're doing good. So to hit 15 or 25%, like what do we have to sacrifice? What scam are you throwing at me, sir? No, thank you. But the truth is they really do help people hit these numbers. And the way they do it is by having all the most important systems that are tied to profitability fully integrated into an enterprise solution. I'm talking like accounting, inventory, scheduling, checklists, training systems, general ledger, balance sheets, costing cards. So when you have all those systems dialed in, ironclad, tied, connected, fully integrated in an enterprise solution, you get data. And when you have data, you can make little tweaks here and there. And those little tweaks, you can see the fruits of your labor, the effects of your efforts. And that's how you hit 15 and 25% profit. And on top of all this, they also have support, which is unheard of in today's age. So you get all these things compounded that help you hit that 15 to 25%. And if I have your attention, keep listening. Join the Restaurant Systems Pro 30-day Prime Cost Challenge, and if you successfully improve your Prime Cost by $1,000 or more compared to the same 30-day period last year, they will pay you $1,000. If you're listening on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, find the show notes, and we will have a link titled Restaurant Systems Pro 30-day Prime Cost Challenge. Click that link and get signed up today. Only 10 spots, guys. Do not wait. Get your spot, lower your prime costs by $1,000 and get paid that $1,000. They're actually calling this a reverse guarantee. Get on it. I also kind of want to point something out. What you are doing, man, to approach successful restaurateurs is the way, like, go talk to people. You'd be so surprised how willing people are to share their knowledge. I am living proof of that. My life is going to people and saying, will you talk to me? This whole podcast is based off of that model. Just record the advice. How'd you do it? And that's exactly what we're doing at Restaurant Stoppable community, just for the record. Like, everybody that I get on the show, and I'm going to ask you too, can you just do a 30-minute, 1 hour max Q&A where our listeners can ask you questions? This is exactly what we're doing. And I think that is the power. It's just connectivity. That's the biggest thing I can do to serve my listeners is help them connect with the people that are being referred to me organically.
Can I give one piece of advice on this, right? To the listeners out there that are inspired to follow in, that same approach. I think it's most compelling because we as restaurateurs, chefs, or whoever we are in the industry, like one of the most valuable resources we have is time, right? We don't have enough of it, right? So if you can present in your way that shows, one, you're serious about what you're doing, and two, even if you have some traction that you can offer for us to understand, it gets us more excited to have those conversations, and not just have the conversations, but tailor those conversations in ways that will be the most valuable for you and your time as well, right?
So offer some context before just saying thank you so many times.
I reached out to Justin out the blue, and when I reached out to Justin, I came correct. I was like, hey, Justin, you don't know me, but I've been listening to you on podcasts. I've been a big fan of your restaurants when I was living in Philly. I'm building this concept, and this is what I've been doing for the past so many years. I reached out to him in 2021 before we opened up at the Post, but I gave him the whole rap sheet of what I did from 2017, working at Chipotle, learning under home cooks, these dinners I had on my belt, like, you know, and I'm not saying you have to wait till you get to that point before you reach out to somebody, but Justin fired an email back to me in less than an hour.
He's responsive.
Because he was like, bro, like, you're serious. And I also mentioned, like, and I remember hearing you on this podcast where you said, hey, you're willing to help people. And I'm like, I'm one of those, I am people.
Yeah.
You know
what was
I mean?
the show?
So, I don't remember which one it was. But it was something I caught him on YouTube. And he's like, look, I'm an open book. Like, if someone wants advice, like, I will tell you. And so
my hope,
that's what I did.
My hope is to get him on the show. I might just plan my next trip on, like, hey, Justin, my camper is in the south. I'm leaving it down here, and I'm going to be driving back up for the holidays. And the plan is to come back in January down south. I think I'm going to leave it in southern Mississippi, and just to make the drive more cost efficient.
He's in Philly, though.
He's in Philly, so I got to drive right through Philly. I'm going to be like, I'm going back south when I can interview you. So tell me when you're available, and I will leave that day, the day before, to be in Philly.
Shout out to Justin, man.
Yeah, he's great. I'd be honored to get him on the show. We're working on it. So, I mean, paint the picture. Where are you today? Like, start with, like, org structure. What is your organizational structure?
Yeah, so we're actually building out our org structure right now. So if you'd asked me this 6 months ago, it would have been just my two separate teams, right? My general manager is leading the front at the Post. She has her assistant in place. We have leads in place. From there, you kind of have your cooks, you have your dish, you know, kind of traditional structure there. I sat at the top, and then you have, like, our external resources that we bring in, like our accounting resources and a lot of back office support that we do, that we outsource. And then you have the Montrose location. The Montrose will stack the same, right? A manager, AGM, have my core of leads. From there, I have my cooks, my dish. But now we're really trying to prepare for growth, right? So,
real quick before you get into the growth, Post. How many employees do you have?
Post, we are like around 20.
20, yeah. And of that, how many? One GM.
One GM.
How many? You call them leads or AGMs?
So I have leads. We have an AGM opportunity available, but we're waiting to see who we fill that with.
And how many leads do you have?
So leads, I have 2 front of house leads, and I have 2 kitchen leads.
So all in right now, we're at we're at 5 employees. So the remaining 15 employees, cooks, dish, and front of house staff.
Yep.
I think that covers everything.
Yep.
And then same situation here. How many? You have 1 GM here.
I have 1 GM here at Montrose now.
How many leads?
I have a total of 1. Well, we just restructured.
Okay.
Right. We restructured it. So at Montrose, I have about almost 80 employees. And then now the structure is I have a GM. Front of house, I have 3 front of house leads. We are looking at bringing in an AGM that will sit on top of that. And then in my kitchen, we are currently hiring for a CDC, a chef de cuisine. We just promoted a team member to be our sous chef in the kitchen. We actually took someone out, kind of plucked them out, and now they're our culinary development lead. So they work directly with me on new recipes, new product innovations. And then I have 2 prep leads, and we have an open position for a line cook lead.
Got it.
Right?
And
then
the rest,
after that,
servers.
It's going to be cooks.
And that's back to us.
Yeah, cooks and dish. And then in the front, we have servers, bartenders, bussers.
Got it. And then you're restructuring. What's interesting right now, I'm all about this number called Dunbar's number, Robin Dunbar. Have you ever heard of Dunbar's number?
No, school me on it.
Yeah, so basically Robin Dunbar is an evolutionary psychologist. I think maybe he studies basically, or maybe behavioral psychologist. Okay. And he's famous for work. He studied chimpanzees in their natural environment and realized that at about 50 group members, the pack started to have social conflict and they would have to split.
Yeah.
And he started to and then he realized there was a correlation between like the surface area of like the skull and like the frontal lobe, like this ratio, and that ratio was predetermined on how many relationships a primate can handle. And he started running this ratio in all different types of primates. Okay. And he saw that there was a correlation if you study them in the wild that ratio dictates how many relationships that they can handle. So that was like the source of his work, and he did that. We are primates, human beings, and he realized that we can handle about 150 relationships.
Okay.
And he coined this number called Dunbar's number, which is that humans have about 150 meaningful relationships, but there are other numbers associated with Dunbar's number, but 150 is where we and them starts. Okay. So beyond 150, it's us versus them. Like, because you can't handle more relationships, and you start to get like sects, like groups of people that are like a tribe, you know. But the number, if you reverse engineer, it's 150, 50, 15, 5, 1.5. 1.5 is you and your spouse. 5 is a family. 15 is a greater family, like your like immediate cousins. 50 is like your community, like your band. Okay. And like that's what you would like go hunting and gathering. Like you live in, like you'd come back to a village, like or maybe the village. Maybe camp is 15. Village is like how it like shows up in like how we would have been. Anyway, there's correlations with, if you look at how restaurants scale, those numbers are effective. And to your point, you're at 100 now. That's a hard number. The goal is to get from 50 to 150 as fast as possible, and then slow down and build. And what you're doing right now, because you got past 50, and it's probably weird. Things aren't probably jiving exactly the way you want them to, because you got to you're rebuilding. You're building the house before you move into it. And that's the right approach. That's the point I'm trying to make, is when you get beyond 50, for some reason, things don't work well, and that number is greater than that. So the goal is to slow down at 50, and then really figure out, okay, what is our plan, our strategy, and then you get to 150 as fast as possible, and then you slow down. Okay. And then you got to do the same thing to get to 500. Because so
150 to 500.
Yeah, but if you look at scale, so like one location is the hardest to scale, right? Then you can get to 2 or 3. But that's when you start getting to about 150, and you have to slow down again. And the next hard time is getting beyond 10. And that could be, depending on the scale of your restaurants, that could be 500 employees. And you got to get to that 500 as fast as possible. So you got to build the house before you move into it. Is that your goal, to get to like 10?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, more than that.
Eventually?
Yeah, we're going to get that. But like that's the approach we're taking right now. To your point, I wasn't familiar with Dunbar or his number, but
it's fascinating.
The whole aspect of like, now we're really trying to build out the infrastructure that allows for the growth to land in the right place.
You got to build the house before you move in it.
Yes, sir.
So what does that structure look like that you're building?
So we've also expanded our catering components. So I have a catering director. My former GM at our Montrose location has now moved over within his team. And so they're now kind of tag teaming, building that part of our business out. But then we're also looking at bringing in like essentially a operations director, right? The operations director to sit into working first on how we continue to build supportive infrastructure within our back of house model. And then from there, we now start to focus more on like front of house guest experience aspects as well. Getting us prepared to then be able to have leadership that sits outside of both restaurants that's focused on managing multiple units, right? So think about district manager, area director types of opportunities, and even opportunities like, I still look at my extended team as really important to us, right? So our back office support systems that we use, we're looking at bringing some of that in-house as well. But really, that's kind of the big thing, right? Is let's make sure the operational model's there. Let's make sure now we have like the team members in place that can oversee and watch over the operational model, and then we'll start building out our growth team that can continue to go and look at what's ahead in the future. Both from a product standpoint, but then also from like new footprints.
I want to talk more about your plan for scale, but I want to dive deeper into where you are right now. What is your tech stack? Let's talk tech stack.
Say it again.
Tech stack.
Tell me more.
So, like, what technology are you leveraging? What systems you got going?
So we use Restaurant 365. Our POS is Toast. We are looking to identify ways to bring in like just kind of the other AI support into helping us run a bit more efficiently. Reservations are done via Open Table for us. What else we got?
So any AI tools that stand out top of mind right now?
We're not doing. No, I think we have a lot of ground to go and cover from that standpoint. I was meeting with another mentor today, Benji Levitt of Local Foods Group, and he was kind of sharing some of the things that he's been digging into, and so like I literally have
that
it on my
top secret
list.
stuff? Is that privy information that you don't want to broadcast to the world?
Not really. I just haven't tested it out yet, so I can't put them on game. You know what I mean? We literally had this meeting this morning.
I mean, it's moving so fast right now. There's so much stuff out there. I know Spot On acquired some AI companies that they're leveraging.
I mean, I feel like AI is also like the sexy word, and it's like, are you doing AI? Like, you should be looking into it. And I think as a society, like some of us know how to use it better than others. I'm learning. Like, I'm learning. I use ChatGPT too. Like, I don't think we shout out ChatGPT enough, right? Like,
how do you use it as a restaurateur?
I use it to think through questions and take them outside of my head and just kind of have a sounding board.
Give me an example.
Right? Okay, hey, one of the things I work with ChatGPT on is trying to understand like what would be an ideal structure for my kitchen, right? I was thinking, we're growing. We anticipated our restaurant to do 1.5 times what we're doing at Post. So I built this off of a model of like, this would be successful if we could do $3 million top line. As I mentioned, we're running at a north of a $5 million pace, right? So, capacity-wise, what we have in the kitchen, leadership structure, what we had in the kitchen. Before, we used to run it just like the Post, where it was just we started with a kitchen manager very early on, but that didn't really last. So then we were running the kitchen with leads. We always wanted to make sure we had leadership in the building, and we did it through a community of leads. Well, realized like, hey, at this scale, with the amount of volume that we're pushing through and just the amount of team members we need and everything that entails, like both the functional and the emotional components that it all brings, like we need like to follow more of like a structured back of house model, right? So I'm talking to ChatGPT about like, these are my problems. This is kind of what I'm thinking. Like, what types of roles and positions you think would make the most sense here? And then it starts spitting out, well, you could actually structure your kitchen manager be a good way to do it. And I'm like, well, when we had a kitchen manager, these are some of the pros and the cons of that. And it's like, well, okay, well, if you do that and then you add this other layer to it. And now I'm talking to ChatGPT to understand like different thought processes on how I can like structure my kitchen. And then, ChatGPT is great because it's like the great employee that's like, here's the information you want. Would you also like me to do this for you? Would you like me to do that? I'm like, yeah, do that too.
Yeah, how'd you know? It's like it's proactive. It's that's hospitality. It's anticipating needs.
Exactly. So like that's kind of how I've been successful in using it, and then understanding like, hey, what is market rates on certain things and so on and so forth, right?
I've made some predictions, and I don't know if it's going to win me over or win. I might be calling. I don't know. I wonder. It might cause some trouble with my political connections, my colleagues, that I'm worried about the world of consulting.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's going to be much of a place for consultants in the near future, because you can literally ask. Just for fun, I was asking ChatGPT random questions about like, okay, I'm opening a restaurant. Give me a checklist of everything that I need, from utensils to like my opening checklist. And it literally said, you're also going to need these permits too, and this and this and this. I was like, consultants are done for. I was like, and like they're like, I can put that in a spreadsheet for you. I just, and I'm not trying to paint like no disrespect to consultants. I just see where this is going, and what you're paying for with consultants is that knowledge, and yes, some hold handing to help roll out and to have that guidance. But with the other thing too is there are more and more platforms like Restaurant Unstoppable out there, communities where restaurant owners are coming together and sharing knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I think really, I don't know, man, like the future is really interesting. Like, I want to get into outsourcing. I think that's another big part of the future of the restaurant industry, is realizing that we don't have to do it all in-house, that we can partner with specialists, we can outsource to specialists. Another thing that I think is going to be threatening the consultant is, the world of fractional executives. So what are you outsourcing?
So we do a lot of our like payroll, a lot of our accounting in general. We work with Cerboni Services. I think Cerboni connected us together out here in Houston, but we've been working with them since day one.
Day one?
Yeah, since day one.
How'd you have that foresight?
Man, I don't know who gave me that advice, actually. I mean, I was like, I know I can't do it by myself. Like, I don't have the capacity to do it by myself. Like, I understand it, right? Like, I get all that stuff. But having to be my own accountant, as well as, like, be operationally involved in the restaurant, especially in the beginning. My wife, she's an accountant. We weren't making enough money with the restaurant. She had her own job, right? Like, and so figuring that, hey, I could outsource this versus bringing someone in full time to take that on. Like,
I think that's part of the answer, man. I think that's the future. The world of fractional executives is on the rise. I think if you can do a fractional CFO and a fractional CMO, if you can outsource the marketing and the finance, and it's not for you, it's not just a bookkeeping. Assuming you're leveraging the executive, the CFO service, the like their financial, the executive. Why am I struggling right now? Chief financial officer. So helping you project based off of the numbers and plan and strategize, not just taking care of your books and doing your taxes.
So with them, we're kind of still looking more on the accounting side.
Okay.
Within me and my team, I've done more of the forecasting with support with one of my investment partners. But that is something that we're looking at, bringing another fractional executive in to start helping us look more at kind of the future state, projecting out some of the growth opportunities. I've kind of felt like in some ways I've taken on roles and I've ultimately had to fire myself out, right? Just based off of capacity. And
it takes self-awareness to know what lane you should stay in.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the next up is on the finance side.
Yeah. Any other services? I mean, actually, I'm surprised that you went.
PR.
I am surprised that you went with Cerboni right out of the gates, like early on. I think literally, if I'm opening a restaurant tomorrow, I'm leveraging an enterprise solution, meaning like Restaurant 365. I'm going with Restaurant Systems Pro for the strict reason because I think their customer support is amazing, and I think that we need to give Restaurant 365 a run for their money because they're the only enterprise solution that's top of mind for the majority of the industry.
Yeah.
And I think we're Fred Langley with Restaurant Systems Pro, also a sponsor of the show, but I just really believe in that organization. POS enterprise solution that fully integrates with a fully integrated general ledger.
Yeah.
All accounting, inventory, labor management, all that with an executive financial officer or outsource like Cerboni.
Yeah.
So I don't have to touch any of that because that will break your business if you don't do it right. If you don't, they also know how to use the technology.
Yep.
Like you would break Restaurant 365 if you were trying to do it out of the gates.
Yep.
It would take a lot of repetitions to get that right.
Yeah, and we actually got pulled into Restaurant 365 through Cerboni. That was the service that they used. So I was like, all right, bet. That's what y'all use?
Yeah.
Let's run with it, right?
I introduced them to Restaurant Systems Pro. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Right,
I'm trying to make that like Parent Trap over here.
You might be the plug.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, like we also, legal, like you talk about something that'll break you, legal. We're like, all right, we need to get like a lawyer that we work with, even if it's on a contract basis, because it's going to be real expensive to fix some stuff because we didn't do it right versus like just biting the bullet and pay for it to be done right up front, right?
The money you spend to fix what you broke will be less expensive than just going and getting a lawyer to do it right the first time.
That's right. So, like, that's an approach that we took. I mentioned PR, like, for the longest, and we've been blessed. We've had great press even before we brought PR in, but leading up into opening Montrose, I was like, all right, I think we're at the point now where we can actually further benefit from having someone take this off of my plate and just kind of handle inquiries coming in, relationships I've already created. But then my whole theory is like, I want to bring people that are better than me at doing what they do, right? Let's leverage what she has created and let her run with it. And that's been a success as well. So,
do you want to give a shout out there?
Hey, man, shout out to Jalen, the Frankie Collective, best in the business. So,
she's been a blast to work with.
She has been awesome, seriously. So, she's got that go-getter mentality out the mud. Like, we vibe very well together. She's not the biggest firm, but she's got what I was saying.
We'll just give her that shout out.
So.
It's about to get bigger.
There we go. Yeah.
So what's the vision, man? Where are you going? We started getting into it. You started building the house before you move in. You're looking to get a director of operations. What's the vision? Like, where do you want to be? What's the perfect world for you?
I mean, ChòpnBlọk is a platform, right? So we are going to have locations all throughout the country, and I look at that as, like, I say our storefronts, I call them community hubs, right? They are places where we can put our flagpole down and the community can come in and interact in this community space and ultimately like check us out on their time, right? That's what that is all about. We also want to continue to build out our presence within the communities, right? So that's getting in through partnerships, through our own programming initiatives to actually truly be ingrained in the communities that we serve, right? So I mentioned like the partnership we created with the Houston Rockets. There have been a lot of brands that we've been working with as well to ultimately help us further tell that West African story, share who we are as a community and as a diaspora, and that's important to us. The philanthropic aspect of it I don't talk about enough, but we want to also continue to give back to the community in that way as well. So launching a part of ChòpnBlọk called FELA, which is Finance and Entrepreneurship Literacy Academy. It's also named after my father. But I want to be able to use what we built through this platform and use it as a way to be able to help develop that next generation of leaders.
That's what it's all about.
Through skills that I felt have served me well, even coming into this industry from a completely different background. I think people can use that and take that however they want, right?
Yeah.
But that's something we don't get access to enough. Entrepreneurship and like financial literacy, like those are key to me. So, that's a big part of it. Ultimately, we want to be able to get into your household. Like, I think there's a couple ways to, people talk about like, oh, I want to be in stores and things like that. And it's very difficult to get shelf space. What's even harder than that is to get off the shelf, right? And I feel like a lot of concepts that have done it successfully, or just brands that do it successfully, they've taken two approaches. One approach is to bring in a very big, sexy name, and people are going to pull it off the shelf because this celebrity is the one that's behind it, and they all know that celebrity's face, and they want to try the product. Or the other is to build a very, very strong brand that people are passionate about, and then that will help you get your flow through, right? So one day we'll be there.
So
one day
consumer product goods.
Yeah, one day we'll be there, and then the storytelling piece. We are going to loud our story from the mountaintop. We're going to have our own media. We even have our own digital newsletter we send out called Small Chops, snackable stories to get you through the day.
Nice.
Quick 5-minute reads that talk about the happenings within the communities that we come from.
Do you write those?
No, actually I have a friend and partner that he kind of owns that and writes those stories for us. So talk about another.
I love that, creating opportunity for others.
Yeah,
and I always say again, the mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. I think if we transform the industry, we will transform the world, and it's through people like you, man, who see that it's more than a job.
Yeah.
You have an obligation, a moral obligation to lift up your people and to give them opportunity, to give them life skills. For so many people, the restaurant industry is their first job.
Yeah.
Like, this is their break into a professional career, And how that first experience goes will shape their future. And people like you doing that extra to really lift up the community, not just be a paycheck, but to be a mentor, to be somebody who empowers and if you make your people better, your business is better.
Yeah. Man, look, we're blessed, bro. We are blessed, man. Like, one thing you can never duplicate is authenticity, and that's what we're in for. It's like the same way you have a mission, we have our mission, and we stand 10 toes down on it. Like, our purpose is rooted in two things. It's to make our culture more accessible, and it's to build community along the way.
I love it.
I say, hey, we built ChòpnBlọk ultimately as a vehicle to showcase the beauty of West African culture through foods that reshape society's daily routine. Like, that's what we're all about. And all the energy that we put into everything that we do goes to that. So we're grateful whenever we get a lot of the big, because we don't seek that validation, right? So we've been fortunate, multiple James Beard nominations. This year 1 of Montrose, we're New York Times top 50 restaurants in the country, just got Michelin Bib Gourmand. Like, all of those things are exciting, but the biggest thing is why do we do what we do? And those are outlets that are helping us to amplify our message. But at the end of the day, 10 toes down, we do it to be able to truly put on for our community, for our culture, and bring people along the ride for us.
Do you have a vision for how you want to scale it? Is it going to start? Are you going to do more go to the cities where you think your demographic is there waiting for you, your target market?
I feel like you have read the playbook already. It's the same thing I did in Houston, right? Like, as I mentioned, the West African diaspora, they're not like, you talk about the Nigerian community and so on. Like, they're never, in my opinion, going to be the biggest portion of our customer base, because we are blessed to be able to reach, a super diverse audience. However, to me, I believe that there's a lot of value in going into the markets where they have influence, right? Houston has the largest West African community in the country, right? And so, one, I want to make sure that my people feel like well represented. But two, I also understand that for those that don't even come from where we come from, the fact that you have a colleague, a friend, a classmate, your friend, your child's best friend, a neighbor, right? Like, who comes from this community, it's not as foreign to you to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go try ChòpnBlọk. Right? Like, that's where so-and-so, oh, I have a neighbor that's Nigerian. I've had food at their house before, or from Ghana, right? And we're blessed as well to where, like, our community is fortunate to have been, like, very successful as one of the most successful immigrant communities out there, right? So we are a bunch of doctors, we are a bunch of lawyers, we are a bunch of engineers, we are a bunch of, professional, placed in professional settings where we're able to reach a lot of people. And so, I think there's value in going into those types of markets. But the cool thing about those markets is when you really start to plot them on a map, they're some of the biggest markets in the country.
Yeah.
Right. You got Houston, you got Dallas, you got the whole DMV area, you have the tri-states area, New York. You know what I mean? Like, you can go down to Florida, LA. Like, these are markets that people want to be at. Period.
Right. So are you going to start close to home and centrifugal circle out to not spread yourself too thin?
Build it in a way where the supply chain can support it.
Yeah.
Where the infrastructure can support it. Right. Where the brand name can continue to organically grow through it. Right. But we got to keep getting Montrose right.
Yeah, man.
We got to keep getting the local market.
I could keep going with you. I'm looking at this place getting full. We're sitting at 2 tables right now. I want to respect your space and your diners. I want to ask a couple questions to wrap it up, and we'll be out of here in just about 10 minutes. Sure. So what is one thing you've done recently that has you excited, that's really moved the needle?
One thing we've done recently that has moved the needle. Man, that's a great question. I'm trying to think if I can land on one thing.
What's the first thing that comes to mind? Honestly, man, you did a lot of things out of the gate that would move the needle, outsourcing finance.
Even listen to my team and my staff, even when it's uncomfortable to do so.
How's that helped you? Give me an example.
Right now, one of the big things we're talking about is even just, how we look at, improving our tip structures, right? Like, we run off a tip pool here, and it's okay, how can we even look at ways that we might be able to get our team in positions to earn more, right? I might have my own thought of pros and cons associated with going this path or the other, or but the team has been no, we kind of want to also have the opportunity to just go after this ourselves and not necessarily have to be in this tip pool this way, but kind of go after our own bag. And I'm all right, well,
what tools are you using to leverage tip pooling?
So we use Toast. We also kind of have our own spreadsheets that we calculate as well.
Got it. What is one conversation you think restaurant owners need to start having?
One conversation restaurant owners need to start having is what I see we do a lot in Houston, what I hear we don't do much in other parts of the country, is understanding how we can work together in collaboration.
Go further
versus
together.
Feeling like everyone is dog eat dog on their own.
It's always the ones that come together that rise to the top.
Yes,
in every community that I talk to, there's a pattern there. I can say for sure that is one of the keys to success is choosing to go further together. What is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that is truly uncommon and makes you unstoppable?
One thing about our business, we are a one of one, because I really feel like a lot of times we're telling a story that a lot of people don't even want to touch. From our food offerings to the way that we, show up in this space, our flavor is truly unique in many ways. And I'm not just talking about the way things taste. I'm talking about the way that we approach our craft in general. And people see it. People
the
feel
whole vibe, man, the energy.
People feel it when they come in here.
Yeah,
man.
I feel it.
Like,
I think our listeners can hear it.
Yeah. If you're in Houston, pull up.
Yeah. The mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. How have you personally transformed? How are you a better man today because of the restaurant industry?
Look, I'm letting them know that the West African diaspora got something to say. You know what I mean? Like, that's, we are a region of rich history and kingdoms, and in many ways we have set foundations in a lot of global food culture. And so we're just here presenting those flowers, letting people know those stories that haven't been told before, and do it in a way where people can understand, digest, and also not feel intimidated by it.
Yeah. All right. This is a big one. Get ready for it. If you got the news, you'll be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants will be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you can leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
I like that one. So I think the first would be move authentically. Move authentically. I'm going to go back to start off to end the way I started, right? What's yours is yours.
That's 2.
Right. And then the third one I would leave is make time for what matters the most.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much. I found you through word of mouth. Sorbonne Services said you got to talk to Ope while you're in town. He's amazing. They were right. You were amazing.
Thank you.
And who do you respect and admire? Somebody that you look up to and somebody you aspire to be like, somebody who's doing it right, who's making an impact and making money while they do it. You already mentioned a few names, man.
Yeah, man. Like my OGs, Justin Rosenberg, Benji Levitt, the local foods group here in Houston. Man, I spend time talking with Marcus Davis of the Breakfast Club here in Houston quite a bit. Who else would I throw in the mix there?
Marcus Davis?
Marcus Davis, the Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club?
Yes, sir. I just recently did an awesome collaboration with Trill Burgers, Bun B. And the way this man, even though he's known as being a Southern hip-hop legend, has fully embraced the culinary space and has gone into this, with the focus of I'm going to be disciplined in how I work to be able to put out the best burger concept the same way I put out the best music is inspirational. I love the work that they're doing as well. So shout out to the Trill OG, Bun B, got to put them on. But yeah, man, those are just a few of my OGs. And then I'll give you one more.
Okay, man.
I can't leave without giving a shout out to one of my big homies as well. We become fast friends, but Tavel Bristol Joseph from Emmer and Rye Hospitality in Austin, Kanji, Emmer and Rye, what he's doing in San Antonio with Pullman Market. Man, Tavel is
on my radar.
Tavel is that guy. Tavel is that guy.
Justin, Benji, Marcus, Trill, Travell, look out, coming after you guys. I think I'm going to be back in Texas in January, so I'd love to make those interviews happen. And Justin, on the way down, I'm stopping, man. I'm due in Philadelphia.
Shout out to Auntie Mawa McQueen as well. Mawa McQueen in Aspen. If you're ever going through Colorado.
Okay.
Mawa.
How do you spell that?
MAWA. Mawa McQueen. I got a dish on the menu named after her.
Nice.
Auntie Mawa's my fave.
Mawa, look out. I'm coming after you, too. And, Ope, I literally cannot do what I do without people like you taking time to get vulnerable, to get generous with your time and your knowledge and your perspective. Congratulations on everything, my man. There is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Man, blessings, man. Like I said, being on this podcast after just clicking and checking it out in 2017,
Full circle,
and we're here today. Look, man, that's just affirmation right there. So thank you for taking the time to even create the space for me and for me to be able to tell our story.
Pleasure was truly mine, my man. Thank you.
Appreciate
Cheers.
You.